We're live.
Oh, can't catch me like unsurprised like that.
Ben is not here this week, which is why,
Sadly,
if you're watching the video, it looks different. Ben always wants us to use Skype, but I don't like Skype, so I'm using
we're on
Discord.
Discord now.
Yeah. Um, I forget, why can't Ben be here this week? I don't remember.
I don't know if he told us.
I don't know if he did either. He just said, I'm not here this
Just
week.
gone. AWOL.
But Joey and I were having some conversations this week about, if someone says, I have this stock you should invest in.
Right, you get a hot tip. Everyone's
Yeah.
had a hot tip
You
before.
get a hot tip. Then how do you determine if that hot tip is a good thing to invest in or if it's just a stinky dumpster fire?
Because in general, I feel like the gurus out there, all the Warren Buffetts, Peter Lynch, always say things like, avoid hot tips at all costs. Because
Yeah.
that's where the hype is already too high for you to get anything good out of it.
Yeah. And
But that doesn't mean all your friends know nothing. So maybe some hot tips are good.
yeah, but there's a point when I was reading One Up on Wall Street, he's like, you're in a bull market when you go to a party and just everyone is talking about their stock picks.
Uh-huh.
You're in a bear market when him as an investment banker goes to a party and he tries to talk stocks and people just walk away.
It's not fun when it's down.
Yeah,
no one
exactly.
wants to talk about that.
But I think, oh my gosh, can you hear that?
I don't hear it. I don't know if the recording is gonna pick something up.
My roommate just started playing music in the background.
Well, I guess we'll have some background music maybe.
Maybe. But I got together just a few things that I think are the most important that you can just check really quickly. And that would be obviously the PE ratio. But that can mean a lot of different things depending on whether it's like a growth company or
Right, you got to make sure you compare it to its peers. Because
but yeah, we'll come back to these. I think institutional ownership is a good thing to look at for hot tips.
True.
Insider buying. Now that's less because you're not really going to guarantee that you can get a sentiment from insider buying on any stock. But
it's like if there's an outlier or something like, oh man, there's a crazy sell-off happening on insiders.
Or
Then...
well, Joey, hold on. We'll get back to it. We'll get back to it.
Okay. Finish the list.
Earnings growth over time. You should look at earnings over like the past 5 years, and then what their balance sheet looks like.
That's some good classic fundamentals right there.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you like the PEG ratio?
What's the
You mentioned
PEG?
earnings growth. It's just price per earnings growth. So
Price per earnings growth.
if a low PEG ratio means it's cheap relative to how fast it's growing.
Is that
again,
generally on?
Yeah, it's usually easy to find. It's a pretty popular statistic.
I haven't heard
and-
of that one.
Again, you want to make sure you compare it to its peers.
Yeah.
Because price to earnings growth is irrelevant if you're comparing like a car maker to Facebook.
Yeah. But PE ratios, I feel like everyone knows about PE ratios.
Yeah, PEG is basically you combine that with earnings growth.
Yeah. Peter Lynch, he says the PE ratio should be about the same as the percent rate of growth year over year for it to be like justified. If it's higher than that, then maybe not the best. I feel like that's changed in the 30 years since he's written that book because people are.
That's true.
But also we've had a 10-year bull market, so maybe that might be part of it.
It's a good point. Things are a little wild right now. And we've got that 10-year bull market. We've had a coronavirus crash. We've had a big rebound. Right now, there's a bit more volatility. If anyone was looking at prices last week, things were a little scary. Um,
No, it's good buying opportunities.
what is the fear and greed index at?
Joey, we talk about this all the time.
Oh, it's at 48. It's
That means
passing
time to
into
buy.
fear territory.
Time. Oh wait, no, it's neutral. It's neutral. I
A
bet.
month ago, it was at fear. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it was at fear not too long ago. Probably these past 2 weeks. Um. Okay, but institutional ownership. This is the one thing that I thought was interesting that I learned. Um. So if you think about it, you could see this with Tesla. Um. Institutional investors don't really, well, actually, I don't think they ever really invested in Tesla very heavily, but
Yeah, it
institutional,
never had a really high ratio there.
yeah, institutional investors don't really invest in companies unless they're proven to be like kind of safe. Um, so if you're, there's a much higher chance that a stock with good fundamentals will, kind of take off if the institutional investment is low.
Right, because then it kind of gets discovered and they flood into it.
Yeah. But I don't know, like a company like Apple, the chance that it's going to go up, 5 times. Well, first of all, because it's very large. Second, because it's heavily invested by institutions. Institutions would rather lose on a safe investment rather than lose on a one that's unproven. Because instead of being like, what were you thinking? It's, oh, what's Apple doing? What's Ford doing that their stock price is going
Right.
down? And then, okay, insider buying.
Right, the
Insider
actual
buying, Joey.
because this has to be reported.
Yeah.
You
So I go to openinsider.com. Have you been there?
I probably have, but I don't use it often.
Well, it's really not useful if someone tells you, like, check out this stock. It's great. Because it's not very often that, like, insider trades are made. But if you check it, like, on occasion, you can check for cluster buys, which are large buys by executives in the company. And that can signal that it's probably a good thing to investigate further, because there's only one reason that people buy stock in their own company, and it's because they think it's going to do well and appreciate in the future.
Right.
But
And it's worth pointing out that it's illegal to do if you really have secret info.
yeah, I mean, I think it's short-term secret info though.
Right. Yeah, it's like you might not have this knowledge of the big merger that's going on, but you might still kind of know that your company's on a good trajectory.
Yeah, and I don't think it's as, you shouldn't get it confused that insider selling is bad for the company though, because you don't know why insiders could be selling, because they could just be diversifying, Joey.
Right. Because they're people, They they have their own reasons and choices.
Yeah, what if they want to go buy a boat?
What if they want to buy a sea shanty?
Yeah, a pirate ship with the boys, which I've told you about this before. That's still my life goal.
Pirate ship with the boys.
Oh yeah, I think. Hey, we found a. You're in that. We've talked about this before. I found a pirate ship that was only like $1 million.
What do you mean by pirate ship? What?
It's a pirate ship.
With like sails and everything.
It's a giant wooden ship with like 40-foot masts and sails, and I think it was like a 150-foot long wooden ship.
That'd be pretty great.
How cool would that be? You just have a pirate
Pirate
ship.
ship with
You
the
get the
boys.
boys. You sail around. You could easily support that by making a YouTube channel for a pirate ship with the boys.
Oh, that's a good point,
Because who's not going to want to watch that?
You don't need to actually plunder and raid like pirates. You can just be YouTube pirates.
Okay.
Anyway,
Earnings growth over time. Um, it can be that a lot of companies that people like to invest in that are the hot tips are ones that aren't even like profitable yet,
right.
which people have invested in those and made very good returns when their hunch is right that they will make money in the future. But if you want to be more sure about it, it's good to see consistent earnings growth over the past 5 years.
Right, because if you think about like, oh man, everyone wishes they could have gotten in on Amazon before it was a big thing. And back before Amazon was a big thing, it looked like any risky company.
Yeah.
But every company that has gone from small to big has had earnings growth. Like it has to have had earnings growth consistently over time. It has to have consistently hit new 52-week highs in their stock price, like by definition. That's how you get up there.
And the price will always, in the long run, return to earnings. I think
right. There's like speculation that, oh, this is inflated right now because it's going to grow, but then it either grows or it doesn't. After a few years, people revert.
Yeah, and there are two things that can happen when a stock price is elevated and then it's like above earnings. Either the price goes back down to match earnings, or earnings catch up with the price.
Mm-hmm.
So in one of them, if you bought at the top, you lose money. And then the other one, growth just stagnates as earnings catches back up.
Right. But then you're just sitting on a company that was correctly valued and ready for its next piece of growth.
Yeah. So neither are really that great of a situation. Or in the case of Tesla, it's just a year-long bull run and then it starts going down.
Right.
Yeah, and then, there's debt and cash. And
seems like a pretty basic thing to look at. So if this company is mostly in debt, then like they need to either be ready to, I don't know, use that debt for something big, or it's a little scary. But I think in recent market conditions, that hasn't been something of any concern to anybody. No one cares about how much debt these companies have.
Yeah, and I know
until this week, because interest rates are going up, and that gave people a spook because all this debt is going to be more expensive to hold.
Yeah, and I know when I first started investing, I didn't look at any of these things. It was always just whatever stuff I saw online. If I had one person that convinced me, like, oh, this company's going up, it's good enough for me. And then what resulted of that was the first company I ever invested in. They were I think Rexhan Pharmaceuticals or something. Ticker RNN. And if you look for that ticker now, it's not there anymore because it went to zero.
Yeah.
I didn't hold it when it went to zero, though, so.
That's good.
Yeah.
Got yourself out. I have a couple things that I like. They were mistakes. I should have sold sooner. And now they're so close to zero that I just hold them as a reminder to myself.
Just to see
it's like,
that percentage.
Sure, I could save myself $50 by selling these right now. Or I could just hold on to it and remember that I bought Mallinckrodt PLC back before
I forgot
they went
about
bankrupt.
Mallinckrodt. I'm gonna look at that again. But Joey, which one is what things do you like to look for?
Well, I think those are all good ones. I mentioned the PEG ratio.
Yeah.
That is one that I like. It essentially helps you combine growth and value into the
Mm-hmm.
same consideration because growth stocks recently have been doing great. You want to be in the growth stocks when you're having this big technology boom. Um, but over the long run, value investing does outpace growth investing. When you find a stock that is a good company at a low valuation, then that's where you will consistently get better returns over the long run.
Mm-hmm.
That's like data has shown you want to be a little bit value skewed. So that's why I like the PEG ratio because it takes into account growth, but it's the price per growth. So you're getting a good value for growth.
Yeah, I'll have to look into
And
that.
and because normal valuation things, I think are key. Things like price to earnings, price to book, price to sales. They show you like inherently to the company, is it a good value? Whereas the PEG is saying, is it a good value to the company's future? And that's what stock price speculations are all about. So I do like that one.
Yeah, and I think the problem with the reason value outperforms growth in the long term is, I mean, a lot of people just don't know. You have to have an exit plan because a lot of people don't know when to get out of a growth
Right.
stock.
That's a good point too. I think having these types of indicators for yourself to be like, all right, is this a good buy? At the same time, you got to be thinking, when will be a good sell point? You should probably have
Yeah,
two in your mind.
and
And like your high sell point when you're like, I've made enough money now, and your low sell point to be, I don't want to lose any more money.
but in the same vein, if you're at your high sell point, or you should just continually monitor those initial conditions that made you get in,
Mhm.
and if the story changes,
Exactly.
then that's when it's time to get out.
Uh-huh. The other thing that I really like comes to the rebalancing. So if you have a 40% gain in a month when you were only expecting 20% over a year for
Yeah,
this stock, you're like, oh gosh, it's way past my target. You don't have to sell all of it. Sell it back down to your initial investment. And
Joey,
then
I wish you told me that with Palantir.
that's it, like rebalancing has just become my favorite thing because it it just inherently lets you harvest your gains and re support your red stocks. But then again, it is key to look, why did you get into them? If they're in the
Mm-hmm.
red now, but they still have the same conditions, then yeah, rebalance, put some more money into them because you have the same reason to expect them to keep going up.
Yeah,
But you got to know both why you're buying and why you would sell
yeah.
because otherwise you end up just holding something forever because you were so sure of it at first.
Kind of sounds like KL.
Yeah, we believe in
I
KL.
still think KL can make a comeback.
The thing is, in the we haven't seen like long term yet.
Yeah,
It's had a long down run, but when we're talking about years, it still has a chance to come back up.
it's a good
But
it's a good time to buy right now, but I've already already have so much of it. I don't want it to become more of my
that's the
portfolio.
thing. Yeah, it's already. I realized when I started doing my rebalancing, I'm like, okay, what percentage do I want to be in mining and metals? And I realized KL is already more than that in my portfolio. So like, oh, okay, not buying more of that then.
Yeah, don't sell it though, Joey. Never sell.
Diamond hands, gold hands, Kirkland Lake gold hands.
Exactly. Um, well, if we're gonna try to do exactly 20 minutes, then we have 45 seconds left.
I think we've given the people what they need to hear.
Okay. Um, how how are your dogs?
Oh, they're doing well. They're upstairs. We're painting the house, so
Oh,
we're keeping them busy
oh,
so they don't
you're
step in the
painting the
paint.
house. They aren't painting the house.
Right. Correct. The goal is to have the dogs not paint the house at all.
Yeah. So you don't leave any like of those open
They like paint
roller
trays. Yeah.
trays.
Don't want paw prints on the floor.
Yeah, that'd be
That'd be
kind of
bad.
bad.